The Mandela effect is caused by sensory overload and your buffer filling up and it trying to compress crap. I'm going to have a link to a Casey Neistat video. I used to watch him a lot, and then creative people and brilliant people usually, but not always, are the same people. The trouble is, sometimes brilliant people waste my damn time. Casey Neistat did not do so. Within the first few minutes, I learned about FOMO factor. Fear of missing out. That's what he calls it. Engagement. That's what it's called in YouTube. And then he brought up the cost versus benefit of the noise. Noise, noise, wonderful noise. Ear-splitting noise. All the garbage you can avoid on YouTube shows up in your inbox. That's why I don't have the little dinger. I choose when to trudge through it. I put on the hip waders and I go through the comment section. And I've learned to have a nice thick skin about this, and I let stuff post that, honestly, if I saw it posting in another video channel, I'd ask the channel operator, why the hell did you let that post? And my response would be, to people asking me that, I made a video responding to them, and that's the price they pay for my noise. But why did it bring up the Mandela effect? Pretty simplistic. Puns and my habit with them. This is going to sound really weird because I'm going to assume you can understand a computer concept called, well, okay, there's a bunch of them, but we're going to use temporal compression, that's time-based, or event or locked-in time-based compression. My face holding still, but my mouth not moving. My mouth is moving. The only part of the video image that has to update is a little chunk here and a little chunk here. Look up data mosh and watch people abusing that by tricking YouTube's algorithm for the video into making it to where someone's face moves over this way but their mouth keeps moving. You can actually do that kind of crap. But because you've deleted a single piece of information, it's still the same file, it's the same reality, but now it looks like a bad acid trip because one little bit of data got missing, but the algorithm keeps making assumptions based on previous data being there when it's not anymore. Now, what happens if extra information gets added in? Let's say you're watching two videos, all of my videos look alike, with this background, and you get them mixed up in your head because the only visual cues you have are whether or not my shirt is doing this, or the sun's at a particular angle. You're going to get stuff mixed up. You walk out for the umpteenth time to your car, and you suddenly notice, I have one of those big red-orange balls on the antenna, if you had a car with an antenna, from 76. Wait a minute, when did that get put on there? Someone's been tampering with my car. And you don't realize it's just slightly above eye level because you got a big damn truck, driving a big old truck with high heels on. And you notice how I keep going off on tangents. But you realize it's just out of your peripheral vision area. The reason these puns and Freudian slips and tangents come up in your head and mine, I just verbalize them, is because your brain processes information as a wall of noise that it filters through. But what if you go ahead and jam your head full of 24/7 CNN or 24/7 Fox News? There is no difference. No, there isn't 24/7 Fox News, right? But what if you are a news junkie? That's an actual thing. What if you literally wade through the hip wader of life and actually are trying to compact and compress it and conceptualize it? Here's a cue to get out of. There's something called a memory palace. It's where you take two totally unrelated things like a piece of wood and this piece of bark. A piece of stone and bark. I was looking at the piece of wood bark and said, and you get the idea. A piece of wood and a piece of stone. Wood stone. Or How about petrified stone? Now we can combine these two ideas, sort of like a bad Minecraft episode. But what I've done is I've made a permanent memory or not, and I can say I'm putting a piece of petrified wood in a room. And notice the word petrified is a word that I can't memorize. Petrified also means frozen. Now, what if I put a piece in my head of pumice? Petrified wood with pumice. Pumice is a volcanic rock. Okay, this is creating a puzzle that doesn't have any answer to it. But I just did it just for frivolous reasons. Can I forget it? Will it get stuck in my head? Will it pop up with associative memory if I hear about pumice or volcano, or hear about trees and stones and the desert? The ideas, the concepts, or the mechanisms by which things are understood by you, everybody does them differently, will cause your mind to trigger these things. All of you have experienced smelling a smell you haven't smelled in 15 years, and suddenly a ton of thoughts come back. You're put in the place the last time you smelled it. There's a specific type of perfume that I will not go near because it brings back all the memories of my first girlfriend. Because it really, at the same time, makes me very depressed and also very happy, and I end up staring off in the distance with that goofy look on my face that everyone would really be better off not seeing. No, really, we don't need that. And also I don't need it because, well, now I'm distracted again. And that's the other part of it. These back memories, these associative connections, associative memory, connecting things that aren't really connected when you do it on purpose or by accident, begin to dredge up things that are interfering and, how did that get there? And get in the way of your daily life. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, a physiologically conditioned behavior in the brain chemistry, whatever, defect in the brain. Also, by the way, mechanical impact of the brain too. But what this does is it makes it to where my brain is a wall of associative memories. If someone says a word in a certain pitch, it'll bring back hundreds of memories, and it comes out to me as a flood. And it does to you. I can just see and hear it. You do most of what you do without thinking about it. I've had to relearn how to walk. Literally, just like a baby. Oh no, baby has an advantage. They have it built into them to keep walking. I had to retrain my nervous system and I guess the limbic system or whatever, part of the brain that does this, that whatever it is, so I could walk properly again. I had to relearn it because of a bad feedback loop, because I had damaged nerve endings and because I had a head injury. But the point is, I'm aware consciously of how much I don't want to pay attention when I'm trying to walk. I used to do everything automatically. I used to do everything automatically. See how the words get mixed up? I could, in a room in my apartment when I had one, when I prepared a meal, people would say it's like watching a ninja. You open one cabinet with one hand, close it with the other without looking. And I said, yeah, I call it octopusing. I just know where everything is. And then when I'm out of that familiar environment, I can adapt that quickly. But that's because I also learned to deal with being blind. You learn to do things like that. I adapted. But that also means that I make stupid assumptions and end up bonking my head or closing a door that isn't there. And now that I'm in this situation, I'm in the analog universe about 80% of the time. Well, yeah, it overlaps with a non-organic universe of cities and roads and computers. All of you do. We are monkeys. We are living off the land, pioneer folk. We're all those things. And we are not adapted for this wall of noise. And you're going to get things mixed up. Well, actually, yesterday, someone asked me about a movie. And was the character originally a white guy or a black guy? Because they mixed that person up with a black genie. Mandela effect. I had to explain it to them. And suddenly it occurred to me, they were mixing up something that other people had mixed up. Yeah, Aladdin, kind of thing. And ended up having the same sort of cross-up. But for a movie that just came out, I'm scared to type in, was Shazam black? because that's the title of the video. If you're looking for why you had that, it's the same reason everybody else has things. We mix up things. And the thing is, the more unrelated things are, the harder they are to forget. What was the association I made before? Some of you at this point, at the 10-minute and 20-second mark, can do so. Some can't. But you're going to get it wrong, maybe. You'd have to rewind the recording. Easy to remember password. Battery, horse, staple, correct. Those words have high entropy, and it's the most commonly used complex test string for a password anymore because of an XKCD article telling you you shouldn't make a random string of characters. You should just use a set of words and create a tiny, very tiny memory palace for just one stinking password. And now we live in a world where some systems scream at you if you don't change your password every 2 weeks at work. The last place on earth you want some arbitrary bullshit rule, and it's gonna happen. A lot of you experience that. So you create an algorithm to where it makes it really easy to guess your own password because you're going to forget them. But for some reason, a lot of you can't forget battery, horse, staple, correct. The word is correct, not perfect. Everybody mixes it up. We conceptualize these things. We compress them. And now we get to the answer. Your brain is an analog computer-ish kind of thing, but it's not really a computer. It's more of an analog estimator. And it can take concepts, complicated ones, real things, and also emotions and feelings, compact them and fit them into these stupid organic mesh networks that we have. And they make mistakes all the time, so we usually keep redundant copies. The more you cram your head full of crap, the more crap's going to leak out. So eventually, you got to flush it. And that is the problem. Human beings have been experiencing information overload for a long time now. How many of these things are going to be in the title? Why do I keep doing them? I'm not turning off my filter. My brain does this all the time, just like yours does. I can just hear it. Random associative memory stuff is the only thing I run on. I don't have rote memorization ability most of the time. I'm one of those people who creates algorithms to figure out phone numbers. You all know that guy. Well, the reason is that, and then he gives you a complicated explanation that makes perfect sense, because the more unassociated it is, the easier it is to remember, because it's unique, novel, and unusual, and interesting, and blah, blah, blah. The Mandela effect's original name was because people thought Nelson Mandela had died because they hadn't heard of him in a long time. Because for a while he was famous and he was gone. They figured he died. Oh, I heard he died somewhere. No, he didn't. And that's really it. It's not some glitch in the Matrix. It's your glitch. And yes, the reason it matches up the way it does is because we're all pretty similar in how we screw things up. But you will notice if you look up the Mandela effect, a lot of people have arguments over which set of teeth were really made of metal for that one episode of that one movie that you might have just remembered. Now, you know you remember it, but can you remember the name of the guy who played Jaws? And is that really the character's name? And was it a Bond movie? Or not? Are you confused? The Mandela effect is simply confusion, but its real cause is we're not designed to hold this much crap. We're a toilet, not the sewer system. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.